Jeremy wants to know, and I like this one, by the way. Can the seller cancel the escrow just because he changes his mind?
Frank?
They can cancel any time they want, but is there a repercussion at the time they cancel?
That's a big but.
Usually if they're going to cancel after their due diligence period expires, then, the seller can tug a war with the earnest deposit. If you cancel beforehand, you could just say you don't like the color of the house.
Seriously, up until the moment escrow closes. So could you actually walk into the escrow office the day of signing and say, I changed my mind as the seller?
Yeah, but
I'm not signing.
But you may be confident of cash.
Incur some non-refundable cost.
Well, you're not the one who put up the deposit, though. The buyer's the one that put up the deposit.
Were you saying can the buyer cancel or the seller?
Seller.
The seller.
I'm thinking buyer.
You're all jumbled, man.
I'm jumbled.
The seller.
Seller can't. Seller can't.
Seller can't unless the buyer's defaulting. They're past their timelines. They're out of contract.
According to I think Jeremy's question was kind of clear. It's during the escrow period. There's nothing wrong. They're as the buyer. I'm assuming Jeremy was. He's following all the rules. Can the seller simply say, "I changed my mind. I don't want to sell my house"?
Yeah. No,
what? Who's going to force him to sign those papers, Frank? Who's going to grab his hand and make him write an X?
No. Here's the thing: is it contractually is contractually obligated to sell the home.
Right.
That doesn't mean that he has to go willingly, and it could result in a lawsuit. And is it really worth it? Yeah. If the seller
what
comes
are they going
to
sue for?
To force them to sell the house or pay reparations in some
damages.
and pay damages.
You're a buyer.
That could take years, though.
It costs probably more money than you could get out of it.
The attorney would cost you more money than you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
I think if the contract is plain and clear and the seller withdrew or tried to back out anyways or didn't want to sell the home, you got a pretty good case from the buyer if you were performing and doing everything that you were supposed to do.
Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen
I haven't.
Anybody?
Something good.
I've heard about it.
What happens is something happens with the seller, and so there was a reason why they thought they had to sell initially, and then maybe they don't have to, or a relative came in and helped catch them up or something, and then you go to the buyer and you just say, "Hey, listen, we decided not to sell." And
I have somebody right now that we opened escrow to VA out in Indio, and technically we're in escrow, I believe. And it's funny because
you never know with Indio.
Well, here's the thing. The seller got contacted by B of A. They were one of those 250,000 people that they contacted to do the principal reduction. And so now the seller's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe we want to keep our home. And so now they're in talks with B of A. Yeah, so our offer's still there, and we're still keep it in, but
it's probably
Friday,
within the contingency period.
Because on Friday I was told, hey, we opened escrow, we're good to go, and then on Saturday I got called up saying, hold on.
So these things basically happen. Sellers and buyers can just basically say, wait, hold on, it's seller's remorse or buyer's remorse. I don't want to. I changed my mind. It feels wrong.
It's got to be a real an unforeseen circumstance. Really, I had an associate who.
I understand that. Contractually, that's true, but realistically, in the real world,
whatever is on the contract is what will make or break you in a courtroom, what will get you the verdict and get your damages and your attorney paid on top of it if you're in the right.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen very often. But what Alissa just said, that scenario, that makes
I had an
sense.
associate.
That's because B of A hosed the whole deal, just like B of A always does.
Of course, I had 250,000 people.
It's got to be one that's already got an offer.
A friend of mine was selling a home. The person selling the home was selling it because they were moving out of state. Yeah. Okay, their job was relocating them. All of a sudden, the company that was relocating him decided to maintain him in the department here in California, so he had no reason to move.
But he had sold his house?
Well, he was in escrow. But he withdrew and negotiated with the buyer, and the corporation actually helped give him some money to
keep him there,
to take care of the buyer to move on.
Well, that sounds
and that's what
reasonable.
you do. Yeah, and that's exactly
cut
the
a deal,
scenario.
Gave him
cash.
Damages without going to court.
Yeah, give him a little cash and help him out.
Absolutely. Well, sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I want my house back.
I get it. So Jeremy, I hope that helped. The answer is kind of yes, but
there we go.
There's
contractually no, but in the real world, they're pretty much going to do what they want.
That microphone's working now. You were doing it wrong.
Hey, here's a good question.
What are you doing?
Here's a good.
No, it's working now.
Yeah, Lisa, you were just too far away
you
from
were
it.
doing it wrong.